Hello fellow YouTubers. For several years now I have been following different people on YouTube. Until fairly recently I never felt the need to post my own videos. For the most part the people I followed summed up my sentiments nicely. However, as I went back and viewed some of their older videos I noticed that very few came to the same conclusions as I. Now I am not a psychiatrist, but I do have several decades of observations of human behavior. You don't deal with people for more than 30 years and not develop some insights. I've always been something of an outsider, so I had a unique perspective on the actions and motives of others. One thing I noticed is that the younger a person is, the more desperate they are for attention and recognition. If they cannot attain that attention and recognition through positive actions, activities, or abilities, they will attempt to gain them through negative ones. An individual does not need to resort to negatives if they are the MVP of their sports team or the class valedictorian. Underachievers tend to resort to negative actions because they lack the talent, drive, and skills required to stand out, and negative actions are the easiest to accomplish. It isn't difficult to cover yourself with tattoos, get intoxicated, or indulge in promiscuous sex with random people. As was said when I was a teenager, the class slut is always popular. And it has not escaped notice that the vast majority of those advocating these bad behaviors are under the age of 25. Attention-seeking behavior, which is a recognized symptom in psychiatry, should not be tolerated. Ever. It should be called as soon as it rears its ugly head. But it is also a symptom of a much larger problem. Namely, a lack of self-esteem, and will ultimately lead to manipulative behaviors. In severe cases, where the person's attention-seeking gets out of hand, it can also be seen as a sign of mental illness and instability. People who decide to indulge in lifelong bad habits tend to be the lower echelons of the social strata. The dregs of society, so to speak. Unfortunately, problems start to arise when they make these lifestyle choices permanent. They try to advocate these undesirable choices for others and attempt to force others to accept their bad behavior. There are reasons why societies have rules of behavior. Without some type of rules, society would degrade into anarchy. It is a well-known fact that the human brain does not fully develop until sometime between the ages of 25 and 30. This is when the logic and reasoning centers of the brain fully mature. That is one reason that the founding fathers set age limits for public office. Although they didn't fully understand the factors behind them, they understood that to be a rational human being you needed age and maturity. All throughout both civil and criminal law, age limits are set. You do not try 5-year-olds for murder because at that age they simply cannot understand the ramifications of their actions. There are perfectly logical and reasonable factors in setting the driving age at around 16, legalizing the purchase of a rifle or shotgun at around age 18, and a handgun at the age of 21. Each age is an incremental step in the attainment of the ability to exercise rights or privileges. You do not hand a loaded firearm to a 10-year-old any more than you would allow them to operate a motor vehicle. It is for these reasons that we just shake our heads when we hear so-called social justice warriors spout their gibberish. Men do not have more rights than women. Men are not promoted ahead of women based on their gender. Men are promoted because they work more hours. They take off less time because of sickness or personal reasons. For these reasons they are rewarded with promotion. It stands to reason that if an employer could simply pay a woman less and obtain the same level of work, they would never hire men. Men work longer, harder, and in more dangerous fields which pay more. The myth of the pay gap disappears when you take all these things into consideration. But social justice warriors have never let the truth stand in the way of their illogical and fallacious ideology. But for these social justice warriors it seems unfair. Feminists especially are rabid in voicing their displeasure at the merit-based system. They think women should be promoted simply because they have a vagina. That is a fantasy world they have formed in their underdeveloped, juvenile minds. The world operates on reality, not wishes and fantasies. And all this plays into their absolute need for attention. If they cannot, or will not, gain that attention through merit, they will try to gain it through bad behavior. The most common bad behavior is playing the victim. They scream incessantly about the patriarchy, sexism, racism, and white privilege, none of which have any basis in fact or reality. Take a long hard look at these SJWs and listen to them intently. Nothing they say is true and is only a means for them to garner attention, recognition, and in most cases, sympathy. When they cannot persuade someone using their illogical and imaginary facts, they use shaming tactics to try and force your sympathy and compliance. Really listen to their rantings and study their faces as they speak. As the old saying goes, the lights are on, but no one's home. Social justice warriors have made attention-seeking their entire life's work. It is no longer what they do but has become who they are. They base their whole personality on their ideology. They seek to validate their self-worth through control and forcing others to recognize their instability as normal and healthy. Ever notice how they always attempt to steer the conversation back toward their ideology? You see this with every faction of social justice. Be it transgender, feminists, fat acceptance, or any other of the myriad Marxist fringe causes. They seem almost incapable of holding a conversation about anything other than their cause du jour. One of the worst groups in this pea soup of lunacy are those involved in the so-called slut walk movement. Everything to them revolves around sex and attention seeking. Honestly, I've seen a lot of these women. Far too much actually. In order to be a slut you should actually be able to attract men. From looking at these women I seriously doubt many of them have actually had sex with anyone. Sorry, but rolls of fat and breasts sagging down to your thighs is not attractive. It's the same with the fat acceptance movement. Sorry, but obesity is not attractive. Never has been. Never will be. Even Rubenesque women, the women in the paintings by Peter Paul Rubens, were plump. They weren't the greasy obscene land whales who want us to find them attractive. Again, it's all about garnering attention. The best thing we can do for these people is to scorn, mock, and ridicule them. It's too bad that that means giving them what they so desperately desire: attention. We need to point out the fact that they are suffering from a mental illness and suggest, repeatedly if necessary, that they need help. Electroconvulsive therapy may help. Either that or just lock them away until their brains have had a chance to mature. Of course, some people never mature mentally. But I won't name names. If you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.